No, no, yeah, okay. Good morning, everyone. Maybe again we will start with a short meditations, meditations before we start today's talk. Okay. Relax yourself as much as you can. Feel the weight of your body on the cushion, on the chair. Let the breath flow naturally. And keep your attentions of the mind watching the breath mindfully. Once your mind has settled down and quiet, then we can try to reflect, contemplate, and feel how fortunate and lucky we are to have this precious human life. Of course, life is not perfect. There are always some challenges, difficulties. and so forth. But it has incredible potentials. If we can utilize the potential fully. Not only we can achieve ultimate happiness for ourselves, but it has also the potential to be able to do much to others. To be able to be great help and benefit to others. Not all sentient beings have same conditions. Not only we have achieved this fully awakened state, do we have obtained this precious human life, but also we have met the Dharma. Not even all the human beings are fortunate to have that conditions. So fortunate. Not only met the Dharma, but to have met some of incredible teachers, such as His Holiness Dalai Lama, the Lama Savatthi, and so many others. So fortunate, so lucky. Therefore, now when we have gathered all the major conducive condition to practice the Dharma and free from the main obstacles to practice the Dharma, I must make use most of it, really take advantage of that and make most of it. By really engaging in the Dharma practice. And engage in Dharma practice means trying to reduce and eliminate all those harmful, disturbing negative emotions as much as we can, such as anger, jealousy, attachments, ignorance, and so forth. And trying to cultivate and fully develop those healthful, beneficial, positive state of minds, such as to love, compassion, bodhicitta mind, patience mind, content mind, and the wisdom and so forth, which are the cause of our own happiness and happiness for others. That is what practicing Dharma means. Reducing those disturbing negative emotions and increasing those positive emotions. Therefore, there's nothing more meaningful than to be able to do that. There's nothing more higher purpose than to be able to practice the Dharma. Therefore, I'm going to try as much as possible to engage in Dharma practice. And to be able to practice correctly, continuously, we need to continue to learn, study. We need to be reminded of the practices. Therefore, I'm going to listen, not only listen, engage in discussions, reflection, contemplations. And may all of this become cause and conditions to achieve fully awakened state. So we can be greatest help, benefit to each and every sentient beings. Without any limitations, with the most skillful means. Okay.
So, Geshe has very kindly agreed that we will start the teachings today by offering the mandala. So it's in the book on page 7. We'll do the short mandala first, and then the request to will. Offering the mandala, I think that your cue to prepare. If you're not ready. Who's yes, Ray? Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. What now?
We're doing the short one.
Doing the short one.
Yeah.
You just do the short one, but we'll still offer the body speech online.
I think they thought they were doing the long one, so they were waiting.
Okay, so page 7, everybody. Do namanta shin la je barat shum ram amba ke namas Kala actions and Chida Sambhya Emai Ki Chapapto Guru Dana Mandala Kane Refuge and Bodhicitta, phase number 1. Sangye Chodan Soge Sonam La Chanchu Pato Dane Kyapso She Dagi Sheshe Gibe Sonam Ge Dola Penje Sangye Duba Sho Sangye Chodan Soge Sonam La Chanchu Pato Dane Kyapso She Dagi Sheshe Gibe Sonam Ge Lola Penja Sankhe Doba. Did we do 2 or 3? Sangye Cheta Soge Sonam La Shanju Pado Dane Kapso Che Dagi Shusu Gibe Sonam Ke Lola Penja Sankhe Doba Sho. Again, welcome everyone, and again, wonderful to be back and see all of you. Many of you I've met before, and some of you for the first time. And yeah, thank you for finding the time, making the time to come. You know, when life is busy, so many things to do.
So anyway, and the topic of this weekend is how can how can we try to remain calm and peaceful in uncertainty, um, in difficult times. Um, as we are not free from the samsara, as we are exactly existing samsara, there is always a lot of things happening in our personal lives, sometimes with our health, sometimes with our relationship, sometimes with our job, and other things. So we are dealing with many different personal issues in our life. On top of that, then, to see what's going around us, within our own families, within our friends. Not only we are dealing with a lot of challenges, or our family members, our family members are also dealing with different issues, different challenges. Our friends also are dealing with different issues, different. On top of that, then, more bigger as a neighborhood, as a state, as a country, as a world, there are a lot of challenges, a lot of issues, a lot of uncertainties, And with that, when we are dealing all of them, then it can be sometimes overwhelming, Sometimes it's already overwhelming with just one personal issue, and then on top of that, then family issues, others, and then to see what is going in the world with so many things happening and so much uncertainty, what might happen, where it might go, how things are going to be, all of that. And to see this kind of endless, violence and war that we have been seeing in last few years, some years, and all this, that can make our mind very unsettling, fearful, worry, anxieties, feeling sometimes hopeless, feel like there is nothing you can do about it. You feel all this uncertainty and the fear that comes with that kind of uncertainty. At the same time, not knowing there's not much we can do or doesn't know what to do, to change what we can do, and sometimes feel very helpless, sometimes feel hopeless, and then sometimes we feel very upset, angry, because we think certain individuals we believe and think that certain individuals are cause for a lot of those problems, a lot of those challenges. The reason why is so uncertain and why we are so fearful, because not knowing is because we think and we believe that there are certain leaders or others who created that kind of mass, that kind of situations. And so then we started to get very angry, upset with such peoples, the leaders, supporter of the leaders, and so forth. So with that, then we are dealing with a lot of, mental anguish, distress, restless. And when you are dealing with that, then as I mentioned yesterday, not only it affects our mental well-being because we are unable to find inner peace, mental peace, and calmness because our mind is always, kind of distressed or restless due to one of those feelings, emotions, and then it also affects our physical well-being as well because there's big relation between our state of mind and our physical well-being as well. They are not totally isolated and unrelated and independent. They are connected. They are related. Our state of mind play a role in our physical well-being as well. And so, it affects in many different ways. So keeping peace and calm in such situations is not easy. It's not easy. Even though it's not easy, but if we are able to apply some of those Buddhist teachings, practice meditations, is possible, even in such difficult time, even in such uncertainty time, still one can find inner calmness, peacefulness is possible. Still to be hopeful instead of hopeless. Still to feel that there's something that we can contribute and do instead of feeling hopeless, helpless. You know, uh, and so that is what we will try to talk about some of the different practices, meditations that can be helpful, beneficial in help supporting to have more to be so that we can keep our mind more calm, peaceful. You know, in such uncertainty. You know, of course, there are many different meditation, many different Buddhist practice meditations that can be helpful, beneficial to keep our mind sane from becoming insane. Um, certain practice that can help our mind to be more calm instead of being restless. You know, to help us to have even not only kind of calm, but even to have a compassion instead of anger and ill will feelings. You know, so is possible. Is all about whether we are willing to put the effort to practice or not. Whether we are willing and whether we are putting the effort to practice or not. If we don't put in the practice, of course, nothing changes. But if we do practice, if we make the effort to try to put them into practice, for sure, it can be helpful, beneficial. You know, and through such practice and meditations, finding calm and peacefulness, even in such uncertainty and difficult times, it doesn't mean becoming passive and not doing anything. Sometimes there is such misunderstanding. Oh, meditating to have a calm mind, peaceful mind means kind of not engaging, means being passive. It doesn't mean that. We need to engage, and whatever way that we can contribute to make differences and changes. Sometimes it can be very small, but you know, um, many, as Buddha said, you know, one drop of water is very insignificant, but many drops of water can fill the bucket. That becomes significant enough. And if more people participate and act, even if it seems small, individually it might seem very insignificant, very small to change. But when greater number of people participate in that, then it becomes significant and big to have better change, positive changes. And so, so that is one thing again, you know, um, and yeah, so that one of the practice meditations that can be helpful in such situations is, understanding the nature of samsara and accepting that. I personally find that helpful when dealing with, whether it's your own challenges, um, whether you are dealing with, you know, challenges, problem in your families, in your friends, everyone's dealing, and sometimes you see, so much suffering, so much pain your friends are dealing with because of different issue in their life. Seeing your many families members who are dealing with different issues and all sometimes can look a little bit overwhelming and as sometimes helpless as well. We can try to be helpful, but we can sometimes there's very little we can do to change the situations. As much as you want to be helpful, as much as you want to help, as much as you want those problems be solved, but sometimes there is very little you can do about it. And sometimes, those kind of feelings can arise, and then, reminding yourself, well, this is samsara, that is what happens. The nature of samsara is like that. As long as we are in samsara, is part of that, is part of samsara. It's the nature of samsara, you know. Remembering that and accepting that make much more less, and accepting that, make your mind much more understanding, more calming, you know. This is what is like not something, it's not like there is something happening we shouldn't be happening. It's just samsara is like that. It's, things, problem arise. That is what samsara, imperfections, suffering, problem, you know. As long as there is the involvement of contaminated karma, especially negative karma, and the delusion involved, there's always going to be problems. There's always going to be problems. It's only a matter of how can we reduce the level of the problems? How can we reduce the level of the sufferings? Sometimes we forget is samsara, and then we expect everything to be perfect. And then when we see imperfections, all these problems, suffering, then we get caught up in unexpected and unprepared. But if we are able to remember all the time, then, mentally we are more prepared. It wouldn't be so surprise and shock. It's like a certain time of the seasons, it's a cold seasons, and you are more prepared when you are, and because you are more prepared, you suffer less, isn't it? You can't do much about the weather itself. That season is going to, even you don't like the cold, you just have to prepare yourself better for that. And if you prepare better, you suffer less. And same things, same things, when we know it's the nature of samsara, and we expect that is what happens in samsara, and we prepare ourselves better. And when we prepare ourselves mentally through such practice and acceptance, then you suffer less mentally, emotionally, because mentally, emotionally, you are more prepared, because it's like you knew it might come or it will come, that you knew it's coming or it might come. So it wasn't like totally caught up, surprised, unprepared. And so, that can be helpful. And that is when we live in samsara, as long as we are in samsara, such uncertainties, such conflict, such problem continue to arise. It has arisen in the past, it is arising, it will continue to arise. Sometimes it feels like a little bit, discouraging. But if, as I mentioned yesterday, if people start to work with their mind, and if they have less disturbing negative emotions, and if people start to have more positive emotions instead of more, selfish attitude, more selfless attitude, more compassions, instead of so easily being angry and upset with things, but being, having more kindness, compassions. Instead of unforgiving, being more forgiving. Instead of being impatient, being more patient. instead of being too much attachment, too much desire, being more sense of contentment, satisfaction. If we develop that, all of that, then definitely things change. Samsara can be end, So it doesn't mean it has to remain that way all the time. And regardless of the whole, at least individual level, we all have our, at least we can change ourselves, regardless whether we are able to convince someone to change or not, whether we are able to encourage someone to change or not, whether we are able to help and inspire someone to change or not, but at least one can try to change, By changing your mind that way, at least, you don't have to suffer so much mentally. At least your mind does not have to be restless despite all the problems, uncertainty, and sufferings around you. At least your mind doesn't have to be, distressed, disturbed, agitated, restless. At least we can, even in such storm, one can still remain calm, peaceful. And through the calm, peaceful mind, we can be able to be more help, benefit to others. And at least that is what, and therefore, such, understanding, learning and understanding, learning what samsara is, the nature of samsara, what samsara is. And through understanding the nature of samsara, what samsara means, and therefore, through such understanding, being able to, recognize, remember, and accepting can be helpful to deal with whatever challenges, uncertainties, problem in our life, Okay, this is samsara, that's what it is. You just have to kind of manage it. It's like the road is bumpy, and you just have to learn how to drive properly in that bumpy road. It's not a smooth road, so you have to, but being okay with that bumpy road, accepting that is what it is. This road is bumpy, and you have to drive on that, you have to manage that, and instead of being so unhappy or it should be smooth and it's not smooth, how come, all this, because it's just bumpy road. That is what it is, Hopefully in the future they fix it, And the same way, hopefully the samsara ends on individual level, on collective levels. That is what we aspire for. But the present reality is in samsara. That's what it is. Present reality is a bumpy road. And you accept it, that is what it is, and you navigate well, how to navigate well in that situation and that. Or you just start, let our mind be so upset and angry with all this because it's so bumpy. And that is the difference it makes. In terms of present situation, it doesn't change. Whether you, in your mind, you are so upset and, or your mind is learn to be okay with that and navigate in that situations. Same way, the present situation, we are dealing with the samsara situation in samsara, and in such samsara situation, samsara, there is always going to be that bumpy road, always going to be a lot of problem, challenges, pain, sufferings is part of that. And so we all try to just learn how to navigate better in that, And so just accepting that this is the road, bumpy road, and I just need to navigate better can be much more better than in your mind trying to find. It shouldn't be, it shouldn't be bumpy. How is it shouldn't bumpy and it's bumpy, It should be smooth and it's not smooth, and then you can go all this thought, one thought after another thought, that make your mind more and more upset, more and more angry, and more disturbed. That doesn't change the bumpy road. You still have to navigate that. And so that is how we try, by understanding the nature of samsara in similar way. I give that example because it can be, sometimes the examples help, because still we are in samsara, that is the reality. And that hasn't changed. It can be changed in the futures, but at the moment, in present moment, in samsara and dealing with that, and that is what we have to accept and being okay with that. And then how to navigate better in that samsaric world, And so a lot of time, we forget it's a samsara, and we expect everything to just perfect. Everything just perfect, no conflict, no sufferings. And then how can there be suffering? How can there be a conflict? How can there be problems? Our mind is unable to digest, unable to deal with that. Because your mind, something which is a samsara, your mind started to, not recollect, not remember, not understanding, and then we see, and then it feel like something is happening which shouldn't happen. Of course, something happened which shouldn't happen, then of course we can get more upset. But what do you expect in samsara? What do you expect in samsara? If it wasn't all this, it wouldn't be samsara anymore. So in samsara, you expect all these things. In samsara, you expect what you expect: conflict, problem, sufferings, comes, goes, sometimes more problematic, sometimes less problematic, sometimes more suffering, sometimes little less sufferings, sometimes more conflict, sometimes less conflict. There's time, certain time better, certain time more worse, on individual level, as a collective level, on a collectively, as a country, as a world. And those are part of that. So I think that, personally, I find very helpful to remember that when dealing with that, to keep my mind more calm with that understanding and that remember, to be able to, recognize and to remember that is samsara, Um, Also, sometimes, um, understanding and belief in karma can be also helpful, beneficial. To deal with all this fear of uncertainties, uncertainty in our personal life, uncertainty collectively as the situation, the country, the world, everything's. Even on individual level, I remember one time, I was flying in Nepal, one of small planes, and they can be kind of scary sometimes. The wind, especially at a certain time of the year when the wind is very strong, I think around March, April, when there is much more strong wind. And I was taking a flight to go to Tolokombo. And there is one particular hill, mountains, where it is very windy at that, and it is always challenging passing that particular area. And first day, it was small plane, so much bumpy, it feels like it might just crash, because this, and the pilot was trying very hard, up, down, all different, try so much, and then he couldn't return back. Everyone was holding to the seats, very tightly. And they were going to try next day. And we had 4 monks in that flight. Of course, there are many others. And one of the monks said, I'm not going. He decided not to go. He felt it's too dangerous. He was so scared. He was so scared. So he decided not to go, and of course, we had to go. And we went, the next day, and different pilot, again, same thing. When we arrived that area, again, it's so wind, that particular area. Again, the pilot tried different things, and he went very, very low, almost over the houses on top of those mountains. They're almost, very low. I guess the wind was a little bit less down there, I guess. And he passed that, he passed that. But also landing was very, when it landed, because the wind was pushing, it was not a smooth. A lot of people were shouting. So sometimes that kind of flight you have to take. And during one of those flights, I was flying, and I looked down, it's all these mountains, and then it starts something triggered, and my thought came, if there's some accident, crash, they wouldn't even find the bodies, how people are going to come in there and to pick up, with all this. And somehow fear arises in my mind, you know. I become very fearful, and of course, I realize the fear and how fearful I was, and, and started to think how things can crash and what might happen and all of that. Then I try to think of karma, Well, if my karma is to die today, it doesn't matter. I don't have to be in this flight. I could be in a home just sitting there and could die there easily. Or I just might be going in the town and I might be hit by the car or a motorcyclist or something. I could die easily. If my karma is not to die, no matter how the circumstances, how bad it is, I could make it. So then, I trusted my karma, you know, fully trusted in my karma. Whatever happens, if my karma is to go today, die today, that is what it is. So be it, because no matter where I might be, I could die. If it's not my karma, it's not, then, I should be just fine. And having that total trust in karma helped my mind to calm and let go of the fear that I was dealing with. I found helpful and beneficial to have that totally trusting in your karma, because there's nothing much I can do. I'm flying there. There's nothing that but in such situations, if I was on the ground at the airport, maybe I could make decisions. Is this right decisions to fly today or not? Is it safe or not? Or the different options I could have decision to make. Now I'm already in the air. There's nothing you can do about it. But the fear was bothering me. And so in that moment, to be able to think about the karma and to totally trust in that karma helped my mind to calm down from the fear. And same thing, that is how I feel sometimes, even the situation, the uncertainty in the world at the moment. How much we can make difference, very little what we can do. Very small things, but all the protests, all the sanctions, everything didn't seem to work. The war in Ukraine and Russia is continuing. Also in the Middle East, with all that, sometimes it feels like there is very little we can do to change. Of course, we continue to participate and do our responsibly whatever we feel is that it could make change. We try to do that, but other than that, very little we can do changes. But our mind can be, going crazy, as the fear of uncertainty, anxieties, all of that, helplessness, all of that could arises. And then while we are unable to change the external conditions and that uncertainty and all of that, but we are creating more pain in our mind with that kind of distress, that kind of agitation, distress mind of that. At least we can reduce that. At least we can reduce that. At least even we cannot change the situation, at least we don't have to suffer mentally because of that. At least we don't have to be so restless and so disturbed and so agitated and so fearful and so too much anxiety and all of that. At least we can manage our mind to have more calm, more peacefulness. And that's what we can do. That's one. And if we are, as I mentioned before, again, is if we can manage our mind better to have more calm, peaceful, also we can do better to others. Be more help, benefit, and when we are trying to be helpful, beneficial to help, we can also manage that better. And so therefore that is the key. And so therefore in that cases, again, accepting the karma, and trusting in that karma. As collectively, collectively, If there is a karma to go certain ways wrong, despite trying, sometimes it will go that way. If the collective karma is to have better collective karma, not to become so bad, not to go in better wrong, then things will improve, things will get better. That doesn't mean we don't try to engage. We try to engage in whatever way we think that we can contribute. But at the same time, also trusting in karma in that way. And so, can help to be less fearful of uncertainty by trusting in the karma, and accepting in that way can be also one helpful practice. At least, personally, I find helpful. As I was sharing, not only that instant, but even in general, dealing with different issues. Your own personal issues in the family, friends, and the world, at the center, and in the world itself, you try to do your best as much as you can. And by doing your best, sometimes we might be able to make differences. Sometimes we might not even try our best. Sometimes things doesn't shift, doesn't move, doesn't change. But at least you try your best according to your understanding what should be done to make things better, to improve. That is what you do. And other than that, you just trust in karma, and that helps. That helps, so then, so the karma is too strong, and even we try our best to change things, to improve things, situations, and so forth, try to make differences, but sometimes it doesn't. So, that is what it is, and accepting, the karmic conditions more stronger than external conditions. And so that is what it is. And being accepting that, and can be, again, trusting and accepting, while we try to do our best according to our capacity, according to our understanding, according to our ability, That's all that one can do, and even after all of that, if things doesn't change, if things doesn't improve, if things doesn't get better, instead sometimes things get worse, then karma is too strong. That's what it is. So in that way, neither you have to be so harsh on yourself, nor you have to be harsh on someone else. Sometimes when things doesn't improve, and when things doesn't get better, instead when things get worse, sometimes we become harsh on ourselves, thinking, oh, I didn't do enough. I should have done that way or this way, or I didn't do enough, or I shouldn't do that, or I should have done all these different things that comes in our mind and being, very harsh on yourself. Sometimes we become harsh on ourselves in that way. It doesn't change. Whatever has happened, happens. We can learn from things past, but whatever situation, whether it cannot change, but then we hold negative about ourselves by being too harsh on ourselves. Or sometimes, then, not sometimes, most time, we blame the others and we have the harsh, bad feeling because of your action, because of your intervention, because of you this and this, why things are getting worse, why things are not improving, this and this, that's why. And then, again, the situation didn't change, but it helped, it make us very bad feelings, anger, resentments, hatred, ill will feeling, all this arises. Does it change the situation? No, not at all. It doesn't change the situation, but all this negative feeling arises. What happens if all the negative arises? You suffer. You suffer because of that. And not only you suffer because of that, when we are in those negative state of mind, because we are in not good state of mind, because our mind is agitated, disturbed, restless, we are more likely to hurt and harm even people who are close to us. Because small things can trigger us and make lose our mind. Because our mind is in not good state. Because our mind is not good state, then very small things can trigger you, make you more upset, more angry, more disturbed. And so even because of that, then we tend to be, more hurtful and harmful to others as well. And so therefore, so through try our best, and then, that's all we can do. If we don't try, then of course that will be another things. But, we can try our best to do, and then is live up to the, from our side, what is needed to make things better, improve. We try, but things doesn't improve, then the karma is too strong. The karmic condition too strong, It's like, you water, but plant doesn't grow because there's fault in the seed itself, So there is nothing, it's not because you didn't water it, not because you didn't kind of take care of it. You take care of it, you water it, you did everything that to help, but the plant didn't grow because there's fault in the seed itself, itself. So sometimes the karma is so strong, sometimes the karma is so strong, even we try to do everything, external conditions correct, and there's nothing we can do externally, conditions to change. But all external conditions that we need to take care of is all done. Still, things doesn't improve because the karmic conditions is too strong and it didn't improve. And so therefore, in such situations, accepting that instead of being too harsh and too critical to oneself and others can be helpful to calm your mind, and to be more peaceful mind. So that is That is where karma can be helpful. Not only not only accepting, as a karmic result, trusting the karma, and then whatever karmic result arises, accepting that, but not only accepting, even being, joyful, which is not easy, but a lot of time when we are experiencing result of negative karma, we don't see it as a positive, isn't it? We see it as a negative. We tend to relate as a negative. We don't tend to relate as a positive. But it is a positive. And if we learn to relate with the positive, it doesn't have to be so painful. Of course, whatever we are dealing with is not easy. Challenges, difficulties, discomfort, all of that. But still, by, seeing the positive mentally, you can feel not negative, so negative, instead positive. In one of the sutras, which many of you have read, Dhammapada Sutras. In that, Buddha explained, when you are reciting the sutras or you are, memorizing, reciting, contemplating, meditating on that. Sometimes things can, manifest. You can be tormented, you might experience a lot of challenges, lots of difficulties, a lot of problems. But he said it's a good sign. It's a good sign. You see it as good, because by that, a negative karma, otherwise, that we will be experiencing the futures in the lower realm, and the suffering 1,000, 100,000 times more stronger, has been purified because of this experience. If you have a potential to, or if you are going to lose 1 million, and instead you don't lose 1 million, but you lose only 100 or 1,000, wouldn't you be so grateful? Someone says that you better to, warn you, and someone says, you better to take all your money, otherwise this is scam and it is all going to go. And you quickly took it, you already lost 1,000, but you are able to save the rest of that. You will be so grateful. You will be so grateful. Even though you lost 1,000, still you will be grateful. Of course, if you don't have to lose one, even better, but still, when you know that you could have easily lost 1 million and you only lost 1,000, you will be so grateful. Similarly, that's what, when we, because of experience of negative karmic results, whatever challenges, difficulties, problems, on individual level, on collective level, we should say is good sign that we have purified some karma that we don't have to deal with. Otherwise, it would be much more bigger experience, worse experience in the futures, and thereby we have cleared that. And not only cleared that, also by that, as the Buddha said in Dhammapada Sutta, also we get closer to enlightenment, closer to the enlightenment. And so again, that's one thing we have to see. One thing I notice is whenever people feel something bad happen there, and then they think of experience the result of negative karma, they always tend to relate as in something negative instead of that you relating it as something positive. If we can relate as a positive, yes, is misfortune that someone had to suffer, or oneself, or our family members, or friends, or anyone's. But at the same time, it's not only this misfortune, but it's purifying so much negative karma. So in long term, in short term is unpleasant, it's painful. Long term is a good sign that you don't have to do that negative karma anymore, that you are free from that negative karma. Otherwise, the experience which will be much more bigger. So we try to look from more, at the moment we focus on the short-term loss, short-term pain, suffering. Instead here we learn to see long-term, So, and if we can relate as a positive, then we wouldn't be so disturbed, isn't it? We wouldn't be so disturbed by that. Sometimes, you had food poisonings, and, you had having a really, really pain, your stomachs, grueling and gas all here, everywhere, you feel like you are almost going to die, and by taking certain medications or naturally, you started to lose, all comes like water. It's very unpleasant that you have to go to the toilet so often, and that is really running. But at the same time, you feel good about it. Now you are clearing all of that toxins, all those poisons. The unpleasantness is there, the uncomfortable that you need to go to the bathroom so often, and this all of that. But at the same time, you feel relief. At least now you are clearing that. Now you will start to get better because you are cleansing all these toxins or all these the poisons. Yeah, one time I had food poisoning, and it wouldn't come only gas. But here, so much. And so I just wanted it to come out, but it wouldn't come out. So that is, and when it started, after some medications, and then when it started, it feels so relief. Even though it's unpleasant, you still need to rush to the bathroom again and again and all of that. But there's a sense of cleansing, relief, starting of the cure or relief from that. And so that is how we try to see, from long-term perspective, not the short-term perspective that we are dealing with the pain at the moment. A lot of time we just only think of that just that unpleasantness, just that moment of the pain. But if you look from long term, then as Buddha explained in there, then we are clearing so much negative karma. Otherwise, the result can be 1,000 times bigger in the futures. So we should be relieved and happy. And also the example like, oh, I only lost thousands, and I didn't lose millions. So grateful, so happy, So that kind of attitude is important in relation to the karma. Otherwise, we feel like whenever we experience something unpleasant, we feel like, again, on individual level or collective level, it feels like, and when we think of karma, it feels like, some kind of punished by the karma. Sometimes I feel some people even said that, they feel like being punished. First of all, there is no concept of punishment in karma. I don't know where that come from. In Buddhism, we do have the concept of karma, but it is nothing to do with punishment. Nothing to do with punishment and reward. It's just cause and conditions. But sometimes people still feel that way. Somehow they have been punished by the karma, negative karma. Mm. If you water it, the plant, if it's good soil, you have water, it's a good weather and everything, the plant grow. We don't think it's a reward. All the cause and condition come together for the plant to come, and it came. It's cause and conditions. We don't have any idea this is a reward. And when the cause and condition, you forgo to water, it didn't get enough water, or the weather was so cold it froze, or weather was too hot, it burned. So due to different cause and condition, then the plant die. We don't think it's a punishment, do we? Certain cause and condition for it to grow, come together, it grow. When certain cause and conditions are not there, it doesn't grow. When certain cause and condition comes for it to, kill, then it dies. There's no concept of reward or punishment, isn't it? Karma is same. We create certain cause and condition that lead to unpleasant experience. And we create different kind of cause and condition, it lead to pleasant experience. That is all it is. So there's nothing to do with, but then again, sometimes I feel, I've heard, people expressing sometimes almost, they feel like it's almost like a kind of, punish. So understanding that is all to do cause and conditions, cause and conditions and the result. And then by experiencing that, not only relating negative, but relating as a positive, that feeling not so upset and angry, but instead, and in some true practitioners, they are even much more when someone's true to their different contributions and actions when they suffer, and they are grateful. Thank you for helping me to purify my negative karma. Otherwise, I will be carrying them. Otherwise, I will have not purified. I will be continue to carry on and getting bigger and bigger, stronger and stronger. And then in futures, it become 10 times bigger, 100 times bigger, 1,000 times bigger as we carry, if we don't try to do something to, at least by your act, it helps that karma to manifest now so that I don't have to deal anymore, helping me to purify. Otherwise, I will be carrying. It's like the poisons I've been carrying. Now you help me to overcome that poisons and coming out of that poison was unpleasant experience. It is unpleasant, but at least I'm free from that poison anymore. I don't have to worry. I don't have the experience of that. So thankful. Thank you for helping me to do that. That is how grateful they feel. It's the opposite of how we feel it, isn't it? Because of you that I experience sufferings. Because of your actions, that is why I'm experiencing sufferings. And so therefore, we be very upset and angry and ill will feelings, all these negative feelings arises. Whereas the practitioners, highly developed practitioners, true practitioners, thank you very much. Thank you very much for helping me to clear my negative karma because of your actions. Because of your actions, because of your that, now this negative karmic result has manifested and now it has been clear, purified, that I don't need to carry on, I don't need to deal with that. I'm grateful, thankful. And when you have that attitude, see those two different attitudes, angry and upset for same situation, okay? For same experience and for creating that experience in same situation, there are two different response emotionally. One is angry, upset, Then other one is feeling of gratitude. And check yourself. Is the feeling of gratitude and grateful peaceful or not? Is the feeling of anger, hatred is peaceful or not? We can see easily. So what really helps is the feeling of gratitude to help our mind become peaceful, even in such situations. Even in such situations. So that is yeah. So the understanding of the karma, through the understanding of the karma, and then trusting in the karma and accepting its karma, and not only accepting, even in difficult situations, even in unpleasant experience, accepting it with a more positive state of mind, not negative state of mind, but with a more positive state of mind, can be extremely helpful and powerful to develop, peaceful, calm mind, even in the most difficult time, even with dealing with the most difficult experience, situations, people, and so forth, And so that is one of the again practice that can be helpful, beneficial to keep our mind calm, peaceful, even in uncertainty, challenges, difficult time and experiences. That is one of very powerful practices. The problem is we don't have problem with accepting karma when things goes well. We can easily, it's karma. It's because of my positive karma. I don't mind it. It's nice. When it comes to unpleasant experience, that is where the struggle is. How can that be my karma? how can that be my karma? It's nothing to do with my karma. Is his or her actions? Is, you know, and then we come with all kinds of thoughts, emotions, you are letting other person to do bad things, or all these things. There's nothing to do with my karma, It's all his or her fault. It's all his or her makings. It's all his or her contributions. It's all because of that, this. We don't have same problem or resistance when it is a good things happening, isn't it? We don't have same level of resistance to this idea of it's a result of your positive karma that you are experiencing all these good things that's happening. We don't have much resistance. When it comes to the unpleasant experience, that is where the resistance is. Then we doubt about the karma, we caution about the karmas, all of that. And with that, what we see is how our biased mind playing the role. The biased mind, Mm. If we don't have that biased mind, then, just as we are able to accept the good things happening in life as a result of our own actions, our karma, same thing, unpleasant experience, also a result of our actions, our karma, one wouldn't have so much difficulties in accepting that. But at the moment, that's not the case. We have, and because of, again, that, biased mind. So the point I was making was, as through understanding the karma, through understanding karma more profoundly, more deeply, and then, trusting in karma, and then, accepting. We try our best to create the cause and conditions to improve, to change situations, wherever it need to improve, wherever it need to change. But that's all we can do. Other than that, then, we just accept whatever happens as a karma, and not only accept as a karma, even in unpleasant experience, we try to accept in a positive way by understanding. It's a good, even though it's unpleasant temporarily, unpleasant in the moment, but in long term it's good because it's clearing, purifying all the negative poisons of karma that I've been carrying. At least now I don't have to carry that anymore. I don't have to deal in anymore. And from that perspective, being grateful and gratitude for helping to release of that, to clear that, and being joyful because that has been clear and cleansed. And so that is how one can remain calm, peaceful, and even joyful, even in such difficult experience and situations, through the understanding and accepting of karma in that way. So that is one of the practice. Okay. So yeah, I think we will have a lunch break. Okay. 창조 샘조 렘보 제 마게 파나 개교 제 개와 냠바 메바야 공래 공도 배와 쇼. And I will take cautions later, if you have questions, I will take later. Thank you.